Parshat Toldot has the dramatic scene of Yitzchak Avinu asking his older son Esav to prepare him food so that he could bless him before he dies. And his younger son Yaakov Avinu, at the instructions of his mother, Al Pi Ruach HaKodesh, divine intervention, dresses up and takes the brachos away from Esav. Let's pick up in source number 1 at this point. And it was when Yitzchak had finished blessing Yaakov, and Yaakov had scarcely left from his presence of Yitzchak his father, that Esav his brother came back from his hunt. He too made delicacies and brought them to his father. He said to his father, "Let my father rise and eat of his son's game, so that your soul shall bless me." Yitzchak his father said to him, "Who are you?" And he said, "I am your firstborn son Esav." And here's the operative pasuk for today, Mirz Hashem, my friends. Then Yitzchak trembled in very great perplexity. The Hebrew is Vayachrad Yitzchak Charada Gdola Ad Ma'od. Rav Munk translates that Yitzchak was terrified by an extremely great terror, and said, "Who there? Me Ephod is the one who hunted game, brought it to me, and I partook of it all when you had not yet come. And I blessed him. Indeed, Baruch Tiyeh, he shall remain blessed." On this pasuk, there's a lot to talk about, obviously, this pasuk. I want to focus in Mirz Hashem today on just one medrash, and only really one aspect of this medrash, so that we can learn tremendous lessons in learning a medrash and the lessons that it speaks to us. The medrash first in Hebrew in source 2, and then we'll flush it out a bit in English in source 3. Uvid Tanchuma Khan, the medrash Tanchuma says the following. Amar Rabbi Levi b'shem Rabbi Chama bar Chanina. Shtei charadot charad Yitzchak. There were 2 times that Yitzchak Avinu trembled a great trembling. Achas al gabei mizbeach. Once when he was about to die, when his father had the knife over his head on the altar by Akeis Yitzchak. V'achar k'shenichlas Esav. And now here, when Esav came in, and he realized that he blessed the wrong son. Ve'ein ata yodea eisa mehem dola. We don't know which trepidation was a greater trepidation. El mimasha ad korek kat. But yet, when we find here Gedola ad ma'od, where it describes this trepidation as very great, as very intense, ata yodea shezuk dula, you know, this one is greater. To flesh out this medrash a bit, Rav Munk quotes Rashi, who quotes the medrash that says that when Esav entered, he saw Gehenna open before him. It was at this moment that Yitzchak realized in a flash just how completely he had misjudged the character of his son Esav. With Yaakov in his presence, he had sensed the fragrance of paradise, and as it were, a mysterious presence, which made him want to give the richest and most perfect blessing. And so, when Esav entered, Yitzchak wondered, who then was it there? Me Ephod. But this invisible force now abandoned Yitzchak. And when Esav arrived, the vision of Gehenna replaced the sublime fragrance of paradise. He understood that Yaakov had been surrounded by the holy presence of the Shekhinah. It was not so with Esav, and Yitzchak then became terrified. What do the words Ad Ma'od mean? They indicate that Yitzchak had never known such a fear in his whole life. Even when bound to the altar to be sacrificed, even when the knife was at his throat, he had not been gripped with a fear such as he experienced when Esav entered and he saw the abyss begin to open before him. Now, obviously, there's a lot that we could comment on. We could spend the whole shiur discussing what this concept of the abyss is about, that Yitzchak Avinu thought perhaps it was for him or for Yaakov, until he understood that the abyss was a reference to Esav. There's a lot to talk about. But I want to focus in on this medrash, which compares the trembling and this terror that struck Yitzchak Avinu, the comparison between the time at the Akedah, at the altar, and here. And the question of which one was greater, and the answer is this one was greater. So the question that Suvos Marachot asked, also in source 3, under source 2, over source 4, why would we even compare the two? Why does the Medrash even bring this comparison between the Akedah and these brachos? In what way would we think there's a similarity, there's a common thread between the two? They seem to be 2 totally different stories. And the second question, which is probably the most obvious question, how can we say which terror is greater? Logically, we would say that when a person sees their father holding a knife over your head and you're about to die, that, my friends, is the greatest terror that can ever overtake a person. How do we understand that this terror was even greater than the terror of the Akedah? That needs to be understood. So what I'd like to try to do, Mirat Hashem, today is to look at this medrash on 4 levels, 4 lessons for our lives. And as we'll see, the 4 levels are